René Descartes is one of the most influential figures in Western philosophy. Often referred to as the father of modern philosophy, Descartes transformed how we think about the world, knowledge, and even ourselves. His famous phrase, Cogito, Ergo sum, or, I think, therefore I am, has become iconic, not just in academic circles, but across cultures. But what exactly does it mean? And why does Descartes matter so much, even centuries after his death? Born in 1596 in La Haye-en-Touraine, France, René Descartes lived during a time of profound change. The scientific revolution was reshaping the way people understood nature and the universe. Traditional medieval views were being challenged by new discoveries. Copernicus had proposed that the Earth revolves around the Sun. Galileo was looking at the stars through a telescope. And thinkers across Europe were starting to ask bold new questions about life, knowledge, and existence itself. It was into this world of uncertainty and discovery that Descartes emerged. He was a deeply curious and intelligent child. After studying at a Jesuit college, Descartes pursued a degree in law. But law was not his passion. He sought something deeper, certainty. He wanted to find a firm foundation for all knowledge, something so secure that no doubt could ever shake it. This quest would become the central mission of his philosophical life. The method of doubt. One of Descartes' most significant contributions was his method of doubt. Instead of accepting things as true just because they were widely believed, Descartes proposed that we should begin by doubting everything we can possibly doubt. He imagined that an evil demon might be deceiving him, manipulating all his senses and tricking him into believing a false reality. If that were the case, how could he ever be certain of anything? But even in the face of this radical doubt, Descartes realized there was one thing he could not doubt, the fact that he was doubting. And if he was doubting, then he must be thinking. And if he was thinking, then he must exist. Hence, Cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. This, Descartes claimed, was the foundation of all knowledge. It was the one truth that could not be denied. From this starting point, he aimed to rebuild knowledge from the ground up, like constructing a house on a solid foundation. He believed that reason, not traditional sensory experience, was the key to understanding the world. Mind-body dualism. Another crucial aspect of Descartes' philosophy is his theory of dualism, the idea that the mind and body are fundamentally different substances. Descartes argued that the body is made of physical matter and operates according to mechanical laws. It can be measured, observed, and analyzed like a machine. The mind, however, is non-material. It is the seat of thought, consciousness, and self-awareness. It cannot be touched or seen, but it is what makes us who we are. This mind-body distinction had huge implications. It influenced not only philosophy, but also science, psychology, medicine, and theology. The idea that mental and physical processes are separate still shapes debates today, especially in fields like artificial intelligence and neuroscience. But Descartes' dualism also raised difficult questions. How do the mind and body interact? If the mind is non-physical and the body is physical, how can they influence each other? Descartes tried to answer this by suggesting that the interaction happened in the pineal gland, a small part of the brain. While this idea was later dismissed by science, the broader question he raised remains central in philosophy and cognitive science. Rationalism versus empiricism. René Descartes is known as a rationalist. This means he believed that reason alone, without relying on the senses, could lead us to true knowledge. He contrasted reason with experience. While our senses can deceive us, like when a stick appears bent in water, reason provides clarity and certainty. Rationalists like Descartes argued that we can use logical deduction to arrive at universal truths. This view would later be challenged by empiricists, such as John Locke and David Hume, who believed that all knowledge comes from experience. The debate between rationalism and empiricism would shape the course of Western philosophy for centuries. And it all began with Descartes, who dared to ask whether the world we see is really the world that is. Scientific influence. Descartes wasn't just a philosopher. He was also a mathematician and scientist. In fact, some of his most lasting contributions were in these fields. He invented analytical geometry, which connects algebra and geometry. You know those graphs with x and y axes? That's Descartes' work. The Cartesian coordinate system, named after him, is still used today in everything from architecture to computer science. Descartes also applied his rationalist philosophy to science. He believed that nature could be explained in mechanical terms, like a machine following laws of motion. This view influenced the development of physics and modern scientific method, even if later scientists, like Newton, would revise some of his theories. His emphasis on deductive reasoning laid the groundwork for the idea that the universe is governed by laws that human beings can discover and understand. Criticism and legacy. Despite his influence, Descartes' ideas have been widely debated and often criticized. Some philosophers argue that his radical doubt goes too far. Others point out problems with his dualism, especially the difficulty of explaining how an immaterial mind could interact with a physical body. Still, his work forced later thinkers to grapple with deep questions about the nature of reality, the limits of knowledge, and the workings of the human mind. Philosophers like Spinoza, Leibniz, and Kant responded directly to Descartes' ideas. Even in the 20th and 21st centuries, his influence can be felt in discussions about consciousness, free will, artificial intelligence, and the self. Descartes' legacy is not just in the answers he gave, but in the questions he asked, questions that continue to challenge and inspire us today. Why Descartes still matters. In a world filled with information and uncertainty, Descartes teaches us to think critically. He reminds us not to take things at face value, but to seek clarity and truth. His method of doubt is not about skepticism for its own sake. It's about finding what's truly certain and building from there. His famous declaration, "I think, therefore I am," is not just a slogan. It's a profound insight into the nature of human existence. It places consciousness at the center of what it means to be. It tells us that even when everything else is in doubt, the act of thinking proves our existence. And that's a powerful message in any age. Conclusion. René Descartes changed philosophy forever. He dared to question everything and in doing so, laid the foundation for modern thought. His ideas about doubt, reason, the self, and the mind-body relationship continue to influence philosophy, science, and even popular culture. Whether you agree with his conclusions or not, understanding Descartes is essential to understanding the history of ideas. He teaches us that the search for truth begins not with answers, but with questions. So the next time you find yourself wondering about reality, identity, or knowledge, you're not alone. You're walking in the footsteps of René Descartes, the man who thought his way into existence.